the Ring Fanatics Podcast, episode number 50, halfway to 100. I am Nick, your host. And of course, as always, is Joel. But as we announced last week, we got our third co-host joining us for her very first time. Please welcome Gina. How are you?
Hi, how are you? I'm good. Excited to be on. Excited to be here. My first official podcast.
Exactly. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being part of the team. So since you're new here and a lot of the followers probably don't know who you are, do you want to introduce yourself and have the fans know you more?
Sure.
Quick bio,
good. Yeah. All right. Well, hi everyone. My name is Gina. I'm 23. I was born and raised in Queens. I've been a diehard wrestling fan since I was a little kid. Now, it's just like really cool to be on something like this, to be able to talk about it and things like that. I work in the wrestling entertainment business, so I know a little bit about like the behind the scenes stuff now too. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, I'm just glad to be on. I'm super excited to talk about some cool topics, talk a little bit about what's going on with WWE and AEW and everything in between. So it should be fun. I'm excited to be on.
We're excited to have you on. She'll be a permanent co-host with us. To kick that off, Joel, you actually texted me a topic that you wanted to talk about today. Do you want to talk about that more and explain the topic?
Yeah, so with this whole thing that happened at SummerSlam with Brock coming out and just making that big impact at SummerSlam, my thought going into this was, what would have happened if Brock Lesnar never left in the first place? Like, would Cena be the Cena we know today? Like, trying to get that title, that 16-time, 17-time title? Would Randy Orton be as relevant as he is today? Would Batista ever be anything? Because he was really the replacement for Brock as the big guy. Would Bobby Lashley be anything? Because Lashley was kind of the replacement for Batista, who was the replacement for Brock. So like, if Brock never leaves, does like the domino effect happen? Does Edge ever become a champion? Like, there's so many things that have happened since he left. Like, I remember WrestleMania 20, like Edge is the big one for me, because I remember at WrestleMania 20, they showed a vignette for Edge coming back at Raw the next day. If Brock stays, does Edge go on this amazing run and become the rated R superstar? Does he become champion, world champion? Like, I could still see him becoming Intercontinental, maybe going for the US, but does he get the rated R superstar championship? You know what I mean? And the money in the bank. So that was my whole idea behind this.
I think I agree with you on the part, like, that's the biggest one, who is like a what if.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, I guess you could say the same thing for the rest of them too. Like, what if, because the big thing is what you said before, is this 16-time champion for Cena.
Yeah. So think about it at WrestleMania 20, when Brock leaves, that was his last match. Cena was just winning the US title that night for the first time. Brock had already been world champion. If Brock doesn't leave, does that ever happen? Or does it ever happen? Does it happen as frequently as it did, that he becomes a 15-time, 16? You know what I mean? Like, or does he have the 6-time, 7-time championship, John Cena, if Brock is still around?
Yeah. What are your thoughts about this, Gino? Let's start off with you with this one.
Well, just like, I'm going off the top of my head, when it comes to Brock Lesnar, I automatically thought like heel reigns, obviously. So I think, like, not even talking about John Cena, I don't think JBL would have gotten the credit that he did, being like a top rating heel for so long. So that's like one of the first things I thought of. As far as John Cena goes, I don't think he would have ever been top guy. I don't think it would have happened. That's like just from my perspective on things. I think if Brock was around, his character alone would have been so overpowering over everybody else in the industry at the time that it would have been really hard to top him. And I think they kind of used him leaving to like push John Cena and JBL at the time, because he was like a top tier heel when he left. So, or after
you also have to remember that during Brock's time before he left in 2004, he was only a SmackDown guy.
Yeah.
So what if he would have went to Raw, and because all those guys that you just mentioned, Edge, besides Cena, everyone else was on Raw during that time. So I don't know. Would he have gone to Raw? Would he have,
would have he
gone over
jumped
there?
around? You know what I mean? But she did make a good point with JBL, because I think JBL never happens, because JBL was created because Eddie Guerrero needed a heel to go against.
Right.
If Brock doesn't leave, they don't need to create a heel for Eddie to go against. You know what I mean?
I also think in terms of Eddie, I don't think Eddie would have gotten his run. I don't think so. I think they would have gave Brock the reigning championship as a heel. I think that they took it and gave it to Eddie because Eddie was Eddie. But if Brock stayed, that, like I said, that personality and his charisma at the time would have been enough for him to take it. I don't think Eddie would have even been a reigning champion.
That is true. That does play a role. Even though Eddie is my all-time favorite, that does play a role, because if they know Brock is staying, would they give it to Eddie? Would they let Eddie have that moment? Or maybe they let him have that moment, let Brock win at Mania just to go against Goldberg, and then Eddie doesn't hold it. I think he held it to like July. Maybe he doesn't hold it that long.
I think it was just like the timing of it. Like I think they would have still given Eddie the championship, but maybe at a bigger stage, maybe at a Mania or that SummerSlam or something.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Give him that push instead of, like, oh, Brock's leaving, let's give Eddie the championship now.
Yeah.
So that way, it's not like unbelievable. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not like let's have Eddie win. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel you. It's just crazy that he, like, if you look at the time, him leaving played such a pivotal role on them having to create stars and push people just to get more of what can I say? I guess more talent, more build people up more. You know what I mean? Like they had to build up JBL to get a heel in SmackDown. They had to build up Batista, because even though Batista was still doing his thing with Evolution, would he be at WrestleMania 20 versus JBL? We fought. He fought Triple H. Would he be fighting that match for the title? Right. Or would we be getting Cena in one match, Brock in the other? Because that could have happened too. John Cena taking over Raw, Brock on SmackDown. They both have their own lane.
But the thing is, like, I think that him going and transitioning to Raw would have probably been one of the biggest. Let's send him over there and have him be the world champ, because he's done everything already on SmackDown and it's gone to get the same people a lot. Might as well just give him a fresh new face. Because one of the you mentioned Evolution is one of the things that I had questioning too. Like, what if that was a storyline for Brock? Like, what if all four of those guys that went up against Brock, kind of like, one beast versus all these four upcoming guys?
Yeah.
And Rick. But like, yeah, so I that was a kind of a what if to me in terms of Brock staying in WWE for a little bit longer. What of that? Would he have, not saying buried, but would he have basically demolished Evolution in a way? Hell yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But how would that affected Evolution?
And also another big part, people don't really look at this, but at the time when Brock left, they were trying to like kind of not mention him on TV. They kind of gave him like Chris Benoit treatment and try to like erase him. And the only reason Orton won was for him, because remember, Brock was the youngest champion ever.
Yeah.
So now you have to have somebody else get that reign so you could get him off the like out of history. You know what I mean? So they gave the title to Orton, even though Orton wasn't ready. Does that happen?
No, definitely not.
Definitely not, right?
No, because that's what I was gonna say too. Like, would you have had? I don't think Batista would have been Batista without Brock leaving.
Yeah,
I want. Yeah, because that's definitely that's definitely what, like, for sure it would have happened. Triple H, maybe, I don't know.
Triple H versus Brock back in, like, that match would have, like, having Brock actually wrestle, and without, like, I know they fought at WrestleMania 29, but that was when he was already doing the Suplex City with the MMA gimmick. If we have Brock and Triple H actually wrestle, that's actually a good couple months of TV, and I'm not mad at that. Like, them fighting for the title, or even with no title, just Evolution versus the next big thing. Yeah. And him trying to get over that hump of Evolution, if he did ever move to Raw. there's just so many things out of that one guy leaving.
Yeah. I mean, who else was shining there in that time? I'm trying to think back.
Well, at that time when he left, the champions were Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit. They had that big moment at the end of WrestleMania 20. Now, Chris Benoit lost it to Randy Orton, who I think they just gave it to him to get Brock out the history book, and then Eddie went on to face JBL. I don't know about the whole Chris Benoit Randy Orton thing. I don't think Randy wins at SummerSlam.
No, for sure. Because who else was still going for that title then too? Like, was it still Triple H, Batista, all them?
Yeah, because the main event was Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Benoit. I don't know why Shawn Michaels is in there. I couldn't tell you. Couldn't tell you. They just threw him in there just to be like, yeah.
They threw Shawn in for the name.
Yeah, that's what it was.
That's why.
It was like his MSG WrestleMania. We got Shawn Michaels.
It's like if we had like a Royal Rumble going on, or like a TLC match, and you threw the Miz in right now. They just needed the name. It's the same comparison. Yeah.
Speaking of those type of matches too, like there's so much that Brock also didn't do. Like he missed a lot as in terms of style of match. Like he never won a Royal Rumble, right? If I'm mistaken. I don't think he ever won one. He was not around for sure for Money in the Bank during the early times, so he probably would have been given the Edge one that you mentioned before of him getting the Money in the Bank. I don't think that would have happened. I think that would have happened given to Brock, because I think they probably would have wanted someone big, physically big, and have that title is that briefcase, and have him like the next big thing, and the scariest person besides the Undertaker come around saying, "Oh, I'm going to cash in." You got to beware. Something like that.
Or Brock is the guy that gets cashed in on to build up guys. You know what I mean? Maybe because if you look at the first couple cash-ins, the first one was at New Year's Revolution with Edge, Cena. The next one, 06, One Night Stand, RVD versus Cena. I don't remember 07, but I'm going to take a guess and say it was Cena. Maybe Brock's that guy to put over the young talent instead of Cena.
I have a question for you guys.
It's more believable to have a bit like build up Edge more if he beats a Brock Lesnar.
I have a question.
Like the person that beats Brock would be the one that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you.
Be the next big guy.
I got you.
So if Brock would have stayed, do you think you would have, or we would have ended up seeing him somewhere in ECW? Would that be a fit for him?
I hope not. I hope not.
Yeah.
Because he was a Paul Heyman guy, so might as well have him in ECW.
You just brought up another big topic that I was gonna bring up later in the episode, but I'm happy you brought it up with the Paul Heyman guy thing. But that is true. We might have saw him in the new ECW. We might have saw him versus RVD and trying like. But then again, it still wasn't ECW. But I guess
we still had the crossover though.
Yeah. So I mean, Brock is good. Like he can make anything believable. So I think if they would put him in ECW, he would have made the best of it.
Yeah.
But I don't know about it because remember when they tried to put Big Show and Batista, and that was just a whole experiment that went wrong. It was just like ECW was just, they needed to make it a new name. They needed to not get it with ECW. But go.
No, I was gonna say like because they did have a reputation of bringing over their bigger guys, so that's why I was thinking. I'm like that. Like you said, Batista and Big Show were there at one point for a little bit, so why not bring over Brock?
Because I think it was more they didn't have nothing going on with Big Show. And Batista was like, what year was that? I want to say 06. I don't even know why they put Batista on that. I never understood that move. I understood the Big Show move because they wanted to try get a WWE guy in ECW. And it made sense. Like he was a giant, but just people weren't sold on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you could have saw, now that you said he was a Paul Heyman guy, most likely he would have been a part of that. Now, have he been able to save it? I don't think God himself could have saved ECW when it became under that WWE umbrella. Like it was just, it was just bound to fail. Like they could have, if it wasn't a bad show, if they would have just named it something else, they would have named it Main Event or something else. It would have been successful, but it had that ECW name, and people were like, "This ain't ECW." You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, so like what if he never left? Like, what if not what if never left? What if he never came back? That's the thing. What if he never?
That's a bigger question. But also, before we get into that one, the Paul Heyman guy thing. Does CM Punk become CM Punk in WWE?
I think so.
If Brock is there, you think so?
What are your thoughts, Gina, about that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Were you a CM Punk fan back then? Were you a CM Punk?
Yeah, I've been a CM Punk fan for as long as CM Punk's been around.
Yeah.
So
CM Punk, man.
It's hard for me to answer that question because I'm on a little bit of a bias. Also, I'm sorry if you hear like my dog's barking.
It's all right. No worries.
Like I said, I've been a CM Punk fan for as long as I've been around, for as long as he's been around. Literally, it feels like since I've been a baby at this point. So it's a little hard for me to answer that question because I'm always just like, CM Punk's always gonna be the greatest of all time. Like that's just the way I am with him. So it's a little hard for me to answer. I feel like he still would have been what he is, and it wouldn't really have affected anything per se for me, just from my stance.
I feel like more like it would have been CM Punk and Brock more than CM Punk and Cena.
Yeah, I think that the CM Punk John Cena beef was like one of my favorite beefs of all time. So that's why I'm just like, I don't want to even think about that if changing. But I do think that if Brock never left or he stayed in WWE, it would have been Brock versus Punk. And it probably would have been absolutely insane. Like, there's no way around it.
Yeah,
you have Brock's psychoticness with CM Punk's sarcasm and attitude. It would have been like World War III in the WWE, I think. So I do think it would have been really sick.
Nah, that would have been amazing, to be honest.
Yeah. Like I said, I love the Cena and CM Punk beef, but that would have been catastrophic, I think.
Like I mentioned before when you muted yourself, I don't know if you heard, but I asked like, what if Brock? And we'll get into that more later on. But I was like, what if Brock never came back in 2012? That would have been a whole different story, like a whole different thing too.
Yeah, that would have been
a lot of things changes with that.
A lot of things changed in too, but. In terms of the ECW, I think that would have been the ECW thing to trademark, or not trademark, sorry, but to kind of highlight ECW before it became WWE's property. To kind of be like, oh, the next big thing versus Paul Heyman's new guy. You know, it's like that's the biggest, I guess, headline for ECW.
Yeah.
That's the only way I would see Brock over at ECW. But otherwise, it'd probably be just like a, you know, stay over a Raw or SmackDown and do everything over there.
Yeah.
If there was like you said, if Heyman was at ECW and Brock went there, Brock would have been the main event then. So that's how he would have been the main guy, the poster guy for everything. So I think that's the only way he would have really pulled that off and done that. So
yeah, maybe we don't see Bobby as ECW champ.
No.
Yeah.
We get Brock versus Umaga. You know what I mean? Like it's stuff like that.
It's so just cool, like putting him into different situations, because like Brock versus anybody is like somehow always really dope. Like I don't understand this man's power over wrestling entertainment. It's insane.
He was even more, I guess, like dominant back then. It was scary.
And what's crazy is he was only around for 2 years, 2 or 3 years, and people like even me, like I had to sit down and be like, wow, he left at WrestleMania 20, and he debuted the night after 18, like the night after WrestleMania 18, and then left after 20. Like that's 2.5 years maybe. Like that's crazy that he had such dominance, and he's known as such like a staple for SmackDown during that time. That it was SmackDown was the show. You know what I mean? That was the show to watch. People watched Raw, but it was more like, yo, what's happening Thursday night?
And you know what? That's the same reaction to today's Raw and SmackDown. Like,
yeah,
yep.
20, like, almost 20 years later, it's the same thing.
Man, Raw, what? That's a whole nother topic.
Yeah, that's a whole nother topic.
Raw's, my God, like Off topic. Tried watching it this week. Watched it this week.
Hey, so Gina, by the way, Gina, we go off topic sometimes. So
no,
we
it's
switch
fine.
Back and forth.
Yeah,
I work better. I work better like this, so you're good. Don't worry about it.
All the time. I missed the cash-in, because
Monday Night Football happened.
Yo, the game was crazy, and I was not changing it. I was not changing it. And then I saw it on Instagram, and I was like, oh. And you know what's crazy? I was just like, oh, that's cool. I don't want to feel that way. I want to be like, oh man, I missed the cash in. But they have just been like, I don't know, man. I don't even know what to say about Raw because it's one of those things we talk about every week, and it's just like, what could you say? It's Raw. I can't tell you the last
repetition.
Yeah,
a lot of repetition right now.
I couldn't tell you the last time Raw was like must see.
Yeah. I was like, oh, I got to tune into Monday nights. And it's like, no, I haven't felt that way in years.
Like consistently. I know, like during this, like around Survivor Series, everybody wants to watch Raw and SmackDown to see what happens. I know around Mania, I want to say like 3 weeks out from Mania, everybody's gonna watch Raw and SmackDown, no matter how bad it is. But I couldn't tell you when was the last time Raw was like must see.
I guess like Rumble, around the Royal Rumble, I guess like that too. It's like, oh, let's, because typically
like,
for the Rumble, they have some people kind of like come out and cut promos, kind of giving a hint that they're winning it.
But like consistently be like, yo, have you seen Raw this week? Did you watch Raw? Like,
it's been a while.
It's been a while. Maybe since I was in high school. That's telling you a lot. I graduated in 2015. The only
same.
I'll tell you, when the Shield was running through everyone, that was the time.
I was just about to say that.
No, I think the Authority kind of kept it going for a little bit longer. It kind of extended it out a little bit longer. But then once that split up, I was like, okay.
The last times I was really excited to watch Raw was after, I think it was WrestleMania in 2019. I was at that Raw at Barclays Center when the Shield came back. And they came out all together.
Oh, nice.
I was at that.
That was after WrestleMania 35, right? That was when, because those Shield reunions, man, I didn't like that at all. Like let me rant on that. So
let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Look, there was a point, like we spoke about this once before, how like for specifically the Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair feud, they repetitively like to do certain things. For that feud, it was them getting arrested almost every single week.
Yeah.
And the same thing for
every week.
And for the Shield, it was almost like every single year there was a Shield reunion.
Yeah.
Until Moxley left. It was like, okay, now they can't actually do that.
Now you can't even mention the
Shield.
Shield.
You can't even mention them. So was it getting to a point? I was like, it's cool, but stop dragging it out a little bit. We get it. It's cool. They had Kurt Angle just replace Roman Reigns.
That I don't understand what's going on. To be honest with you, full disclosure, I have no I don't even know if we're allowed to curse on this podcast.
Go ahead. We don't care.
I have no fucking idea what the writers are doing right now.
Yeah.
It's kind of frustrating to watch it unfold. There's just so much going on that really is irritating to me and almost wasting people and their potential to be big.
Yeah.
I don't know. The whole I'll give you the example of recently that what happened with Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair.
Yeah.
What the hell was that? I'm sorry. Watching that from my perspective was very frustrating because I think Bianca Belair is one of the best female fighters right now.
Yeah.
And she deserved to have her moment. And I love Becky Lynch too. And I also think she deserved to have her actual comeback moment. And to me, I feel like it was a cop-out for both of them. I don't care what happened with Sasha Banks. Whatever happened, I'm not even really sure what happened still.
I don't even know.
No one really confirmed anything. But it was just it's just very frustrating to see what the writers are doing, especially with the women's division at the moment. It's just, I don't know. It's hard to watch.
Because SmackDown specifically has nobody. They have Liv Morgan and Toni Storm, but they don't use them well.
Liv Morgan should be one of the biggest female wrestlers right now, and she's on the list of people that are being completely wasted, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. Because she should have won the Money in the Bank. That's a whole different story, but she should have won Money in the Bank. And this Bianca Belair practically beat everyone on the roster. So it's okay, what now? What? So I think it was about time for her to lose it, but I don't think it should.
I agree, but not like that.
Yeah, not like that. Yeah,
it was a cop out.
At least have a match. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying.
And you built her up for months, and then you took the belt away from her like that.
Yeah.
And to the fucking fake rock bottom she hit. Are you kidding me? You're gonna have that be the.
And then
move?
she said she wants to be the next Rock. Like, could you make it more obvious that you want to be the next Rock?
And can I just say, I hate Becky.
Really?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And
tell him why.
I'll give you a whole backstory. I think I loved her. I thought she should have been the person to win the first women's championship at WrestleMania 32. After the Survivor Series thing, broke her nose, and then they just started giving her like this Stone Cold vibe, but like over exaggerating. And it was like Nick said, she was getting arrested every week. She was breaking into shows that she was booked for, and you're not supposed to be here. She has a match tonight. Of course she's supposed to be here. Like, it was just stuff like that would piss me off. And then she comes back, does this shit, and now all of a sudden she's Conor McGregor in every fucking promo she does.
See, I agree with that. Her comeback now is irritating to me.
Oh my God. It's horrible.
It's cringe.
It's
cringe.
The second time she came back though with like the man, that whole thing, I like thought it was dope. Because like I also thought like it was like, okay, might be a stretch, but I almost feel like it was almost like Vince was simulating CM Punk, but like trying to create a CM Punk character, if that makes sense.
Because that was what I mean. This is like it's he thought that moment was cool, so he kept on trying to do more things related to like, oh, let's have her get her for real, let's have her be a badass. But
yeah, exactly.
That way.
But like I feel like he was trying to paint her that way and almost create someone that like was a character of Punk, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
No,
that's what it felt like.
I can see that. I just feel they went like so like off the wall with it that they just like were trying anything to just get a reaction out of fans. Some people loved it. I was just one of them that did not.
I can see how it would get tiring. I just thought it was cool as hell to see a chick be that way, I guess.
Oh yeah, I feel you.
Yeah, it was different.
I don't know.
He was at that Mania that
oh man,
talk about that one.
Yo, I've never seen a stadium so quiet when a WrestleMania ends on a roll up and a botched roll up at that. Yeah, and everybody was just like, the music played. I watched back the video and the crowd goes crazy. No, they weren't. Everybody was confused because everybody thought like, oh, somebody's gonna come out, restart the match.
It was like an accident.
Yeah, and it was like
she won by accident.
Yeah, and it was like, oh, she'll get her proper like 1, 2, 3 pin. Somebody's gonna come out and restart this. No, okay. Oh, they faded to black. Cool. I guess that's the end of Mania. And
like, I swear it's like someone got hurt or it did get botched. And it happened, the pin happened by accident. Like, I swear to God, something was so weird. I remember it. Because I was like, what?
I think Ronda was like pointing out to the ref that her shoulders were up, not to count the 3. Yeah. And I think he might have done it anyways and just continued as if like he didn't see it.
Yeah.
It was just, I don't know, man. I was just so over. And then that happened at Mania. I was just like, you know what? I can't support Becky on this.
Yeah.
And then her run was kind of lackluster. And it was more of just tagging with Rollins. And it was like, that's cool. But when you do it like 4 months in a row,
it gets put out.
It's not, But hopefully this run is better. So far it started out.
I hope so. I hope they straighten it out because this shit is brutal to watch right now.
So far it's been a month and it's been terrible. I'll just say it straight up.
You know who else? I think, going back to what we were talking about before, you know who else I think they're completely wasting or just ruin the storyline? Otis. They wasted Otis. I don't care what anybody says. What the hell, man?
So this is another theory that I have that you brought up, and that you brought up Otis from. So I've told you about this multiple times, and it's basically what they're doing as of late with especially with Royal Rumble and Money in the Bank. It's like they're using one person. They give one of the winners, to somebody who deserved it, and the other one to someone who they're testing the waters with, but don't know what they're doing with yet. For example, in 2020 Royal Rumble, McIntyre won it. He deserved it. Look how it turned out for him. Amazing. Right. The other winner was Charlotte, who went for the NXT Women's Championship, won it, but didn't do much for her. The Money in the Bank last year, Asuka won it, even though she never really cashed it in. It was given to her. You guess I could say she earned it. deserved it. But other hand, it was Otis. Didn't even hold it for that long.
Yeah.
Lost it to The Miz. Then this year, Royal Rumble. You have Bianca Belair. Exactly. This year was Bianca Belair for Royal Rumble. She deserved it. She earned it. The other one was Edge, who, no offense, I love Edge, but he technically got his championship singles match at Money in the Bank. It wasn't at Mania.
I also feel like Edge winning was a cash grab for them right now because of everything going on with AEW. I think that was just adding to the, yay, look, nostalgia, that kind of thing. I love Edge, don't get me wrong, but that's just how I felt about that too.
And then this year's Money in the Bank, it was Big E who deserved it. And then other one was Nikki ASH, who...
You're going to tell me she didn't deserve it? You're going to tell me she didn't deserve it?
I love her. I'm sorry.
She deserved a champ. I didn't say that. She worked hard. I loved her beforehand, yes. But, like, look how it's benefiting her now. She lost it at SummerSlam, back to the mid-card picture. So it didn't do much for her, technically. So that's why I'm thinking, because Otis, he got Money in the Bank, but they didn't know what to do with him. They're just like, oh, Vince loves him. Let's give it to him, but he doesn't have much to offer. And in terms of putting things on the table. But his Alpha Academy gimmick, I actually kind of mess with. I actually like it better than his old character. And I prefer this one over the previous Otis. If they would have given him the briefcase now, maybe it would have worked. But back then it was like, no, I just like him. Let's give it to him. But he can't do much yet.
But they're still not really doing anything with the Alpha Academy, though. Like, I like the tag too, but it's just not doing nothing with them.
Yeah, it could, but
the whole tag division on SmackDown, if your names are not the Usos or the Mysterios, they don't give a fuck. Like they don't give a fuck.
But wait, going back to our previous topic, would Mysterio be bigger?
Mysterio would be irrelevant.
Exactly.
Okay.
He's also somebody who could have
and I'll say this right now: if Eddie never passed, Ray would not be the Ray we know now.
Ray took the placeholder for Eddie.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Or he was the placeholder, I should say. I think he still kind of is.
Yeah, they gave him the Royal Rumble win. They gave him the main event. Was it the main event Mania? I think it was co-main event, whatever, because it was the SmackDown belt. But that never happens if Eddie is alive, and that never happens if Brock is still around, because maybe Brock would do it just to give him that one title, but we would not see multiple titles on Ray, because I think he won it like 2 times after that. We wouldn't see that.
Yeah.
Now, like, what if, go back to the question I said before, what if Brock never came back? Let's get to that one. What if Brock never came back? Would he have gone to Cena? Would Cena have gone for the WWE Championship for 10 more times after that? Who knows what would have happened?
WWE would have been diminished. I'm sorry. That's it. They're relying on him for so much, and they have for so long. Even the hype around him with potential like hints of him coming back when he wasn't even coming back yet was keeping them afloat for a very long time. So that's the way I see it. I think it would have been just unpredictable of what they would have done, but nothing would have touched what he's done already, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
No, I feel you on
that. Even with the kind of MMA thing, because one of you mentioned before that, like, I think it was you, Joel, that said that he was the biggest name poster, like he was the poster boy at WWE. He was also the poster boy for UFC for quite some time as well.
Yes, he was.
So no matter where he was, besides the NFL, obviously, because that didn't work out, he was literally the most talked about person on that brand. So, because what else would have happened after his John Cena's loss against The Rock at Mania 28? What would he have done? Probably, maybe would that storyline would have changed? Would have Cena beat The Rock to keep his momentum up still? Because if you remember, the storyline with Cena was that his storyline was going down. His career was kind of taking a wrong turn.
I can't win. I keep losing. Yeah, that is true.
And then he beat Brock in his return. So that was like his big step up. So that would have changed drastically too. One of the most anticipated matches in WWE history.
That might be even the bigger question. What if he doesn't return?
Yeah.
Wow. I'm trying to think like of all this stuff that he's done.
Bigger question. What if he didn't beat the streak? He wouldn't beat the streak.
Right? I was just about to say that. I was like, would Undertaker have even bothered?
I don't. I think if that,
like, that's yeah,
he wouldn't never beat the Streak. First of all, my opinion, it should have been Punk or Wyatt.
Yeah,
but that's another story. He never beats it. That's first of all. Let's just go through the manias. He doesn't beat the Streak. The cash in of the heist of the century doesn't happen.
The Rollins, yeah.
32 Ambrose wasn't nothing big. We never get the rematch of Brock and Goldberg, which
Kevin Owens and Jericho would have main evented.
Wasn't a bad match. I always liked that match, even though it was short. You know, Goldberg's old and Brock just does the suplex city. But I always love the spot where he goes for the spear and just the athletic Brock, how athletic he is, just jumps up and just what a spot that was. But we never get that. We never get him and the Triple H storyline where he comes back and just breaks everybody's arm. He broke Shawn's arm. He attacked Vince. Like all that stuff doesn't happen. Paul Heyman's career came back when Brock came back.
Yeah.
Does Heyman stay around? Does he
think so.
Does he go and work for another company as a writer or something? Does you know what I mean?
There's so many questions.
There's so many stuff that can happen.
And I think he definitely wouldn't have won Money in the Bank in 2019. I personally think
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Then the what was it, the boombox that he had?
Yeah.
But I think if that didn't happen, it put because that match was stacked. Let me tell you. That 2019 Money in the Bank match was an underrated Money in the Bank, in my opinion. Yep. But it was just that Brock moment. It was like, of course that happened.
Yeah, and everybody at that moment was hating on Brock, which I never understood the hate on Brock.
It was a great heel move. It was a great heel move, let me tell you.
Yeah.
And I always loved when he was champion and not on TV. People hated it. I loved it because I've told Nick this a bunch of times. If you don't see people every week, you don't get tired of them. Exactly. That's why when NXT was an hour, you never got tired of people because you didn't see everybody every week. You saw Adam Cole every 2 weeks. You saw Sasha every 2 weeks or every 30 weeks. And then
it was a surprise because you didn't know who you were getting that week either.
Yeah. And then everybody was together at TakeOver.
Right.
But Brock not being around all the time was something special because when he did pop up, you knew shit was going down.
Yeah.
You knew it was
when you heard that music, it's like, oh shit, it's about to go down.
And just the flip that he can make just tells you like how bad WWE is right now because when his music hit, that place popped at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Imagine when it was like at MSG. Oh man.
And if his return would have been at MSG, that would have been insane. That would have been insane. But yeah, Brock just has like it's crazy to think about all this stuff. Like if he never leaves, if he never comes back, because it's weird to think about, but he has so much pull in history with wrestling that's just like
crazy. He's like the Thanos of wrestling. That's what I like to call Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, that is.
He has all
over everything.
Yeah,
he has the gemstones collecting. He has a Universal WWE.
That's what I'm saying. That's he's like Thanos to me. That's what he reminds me of. It's a good comparison.
Yeah. If he never if he never leaves, he never wins the New Japan belt. He never wins the IWGP Heavyweight belt.
I was gonna mention that too. I'm like, I forgot to mention that.
He never has the rematch against Angle at Japan. Like it's just
and
his whole thing with Cain Velasquez and the UFC wouldn't have been a big thing.
Yeah. Does Kurt leave WWE? Does Brock make him stay? Because Brock was like
Angle would have still stayed.
Guys.
I think Angle would have still still stayed. I think that was one of the main influences that he left too.
Yeah.
Because wasn't there storyline like at one point like did they ever feud Angle and Brock? Yeah,
WrestleMania 19.
Yeah.
WrestleMania 19. And then they had one of my favorite matches ever. They had an Iron Man match on SmackDown. If you haven't watched
yes, I remember. Yeah.
That match is I still have it on VHS. That was one of my favorite SmackDowns ever recorded because that match was incredible. I was a Brock guy, man. I was a Brock.
You're a Paul Heyman guy.
I was a Paul Heyman guy.
I love Paul Heyman.
I know.
Awesome.
I'm glad he's doing like other superstars too. Like besides Brock.
We have to do a episode just on Heyman. And
for sure.
Oh my god.
Going through his history is just incredible. Whether it's starting on WCW, ECW, coming WWE, it's just like all over the place.
Yeah. So next week we got Extreme Rules. We do that Paul Heyman one the week after that.
But I'm telling you, Brock. If Brock never leaves, a lot of this stuff doesn't happen. Right. I still don't believe. I maybe Edge becomes rated R. Maybe he wins the titles here and there. I don't know if he's as big of a part of WWE if Brock is around.
I don't think he would have been like the rated R superstar. Like I think he would have been big in a way where it's like he doesn't need that trademark name in a way. You know what I mean? He
would have been a baby face.
Most likely.
I think Brock works better as a heel. They finally found that out, that he works better as a heel. And that was towards the end, like when he left. That was when he's easy to hate. You know what I mean? So that would have been his selling point, and he would have been the biggest heel ever. I think he is one of the biggest heels ever, but if he would have never left.
He was my first person I hated in WWE. The first person I hated.
You see? But
I have a question.
What's up?
I'm curious now. I want to do like a what if right now of what would happen if Brock Lesnar just up and left and went to AEW right now. What the hell would
I don't think oh man. It would have been the same. I think it would have been the same thing we see in WWE. Like he probably would have been walking in and just F5ing people, suplex. Because I think they would have made it in a different angle to where like maybe because you can't change Brock. That's the thing.
You can't change Brock, but think about the lineup on AEW right now and the roster at the moment.
Who can go up against him?
There's
Punk, right away. Yeah. You would have Brock and Punk face to face. Yo, I'm sorry. I think it'd be cool as hell to see him on AEW. I'm geeking right now thinking about that.
They got me when they were introducing Arn Anderson's son as because remember the thing Tony Schiavone was like Brock. He took a long pause, said Anderson. I'm like, oh, you son of a bitch. I thought it was Brock.
I remember that.
Yeah. And I'm like, no way.
That is.
I feel like if that happened, like I think that like the wrestling community would break, like the internet would break if Punk versus Brock ever happened at any point.
But he would have gone where the money is, though. The money was where.
I agree with that. But I'm just thinking hypothetically, like no politics involved. If it was just an alternate universe and he just decided to go to AEW.
We've never gotten a storyline with Jericho and Brock.
Yeah, that would have been cool. That would have been awesome. Yeah, exactly. I think they would have done like something where they probably would have done like the Elite versus Brock. Because they definitely would have had. Because if it's because CM Punk Jericho could definitely go 1-on-1 against Brock. Not saying that, but if you're going because of the Beast Brock Lesnar, you probably would need like some big faction to go up against them. Yeah, and you're not gonna tell me. You're not gonna give me the Hardy family office against Brock. That's no way. But I think the Elite would be the better option to do that for. And I think that would probably be not the first, but definitely along the line. Like if Omega versus Brock, the Elite versus Brock,
because
he could single-handedly take out every single one of them. Like there's no way.
No, that's a fact. I think if he would have ever done that, I would have loved to see him go back to like his wrestling style.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that would have worked out more in AEW. I think just Vince saw him coming from UFC and was like, "Oh, let's do the MMA thing." Like, you know what I mean? Like, just let's keep the money rolling from what you did because now UFC fans are watching.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
But also, if he's in AEW, he's fighting in the UFC or doing some MMA company, whether it's Strikeforce. You know what I mean?
Wardlow would have been a great fit because Wardlow does I think his finisher is the F10.
Yeah,
that's like the same resemblance as him. So that would be a great match to go up against.
I think Brock is just one of those guys you could drop him anywhere
and he'll do fine.
Yeah.
Like he killed it. Like I said, like he'll be a face anywhere. Like he's the face. He was the face of the UFC for a bit.
Yeah.
Like he went anywhere and he could still be the face.
Right.
Man, Brock is just one of those guys. It's crazy. Like
he was different, man.
I really can argue that he might be one of the greatest of all time, or is the greatest of all time. Like arguably,
he's up there. He's up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Question: does the yes movement happen?
Ooh, good question.
No.
No.
No. I don't think. I mean, I don't think the yes movement would have happened though. Because I think because you mentioned to me once before, Joel, that the reason why that yes movement happened was because Punk left.
Yeah.
So that's a whole I don't think that had to do with Brock leaving.
Yeah, but
so,
if he never leaves, does Daniel Bryan build up to the person that he is?
I think so. I mean, I think they were big on him from the start of NXT. I think they were big on him from there. So I think they still had a vision for him.
So he choked Justin Roberts.
Yeah, that fucked him. That fucked him up though. That really did fuck him up.
That was a good move though. It was a heel move.
I know, but
why not keep
it was
him
a
there?
damn good heel move.
Yeah. He was choking the ring announcer.
Like yeah, I'm telling you, Brock has a lot of pull in wrestling history. That's just like, do these certain guys get built up? Do these certain guys win titles? And
it's so crazy that you have Lesnar holding like almost like he has like their careers in his hands, basically. Like he had so much control and people didn't even realize it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just crazy. It's like talking about it out loud and thinking about.
Yeah, actually, like
you know what I mean.
Puts it in perspective.
Yeah, like he really him leaving gave everyone this opportunity to be what they are now. If he never left, these people would have been like, it would have been it, literally. Yeah. Thanos snap once again.
Exactly.
Like,
Thanos. Exactly. That's how Brock Lesnar leaves next time. It's like bye, then it pops away.
Yeah.
Yo, because think about it, The Rock handed him the torch at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
That was the next big thing. Gave him the title. Boom. Do we get the rematch if Brock doesn't leave at 20? Do we not get Brock and Goldberg? Do we get Brock and Rock?
I think so. That definitely would have been
an actual rematch.
I think
maybe that keeps The Rock around, coming back and forth more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You could make so many what ifs. To where even The Rock is
I love it. I love the what ifs.
Like the Rock is a what if. Daniel Bryan not getting rehired is a what if.
Oh yeah.
It's like it's made a lot of great moments, and you can't. It's so. This like you said, Gina. It's like the more we talk about it in person, it's like it's different perspective in my head. Just thinking about it, and it's like it's insane.
There's so many what ifs. Like, what if? The biggest what if I've always wondered is there was always the story about how AJ Styles gave up his developmental contract because his wife wanted to go to college or something. He moved with her and didn't sign it. And that was like what, 2002, 2003?
Yeah.
Is AJ Styles if he signs that?
There's so many of these that you can do.
You know,
these are future episode topics right here. These are future episode topics.
Because AJ was AJ in TNA. You know what I mean? He was the guy.
Yeah.
He was the poster child. It was AJ Styles. If he signs with WWE and that developmental contract,
I mean, he could have easily still this. No, like a whole other.
Remember who was in developmental at that time? You got
I was a Cena class.
Cena, Batista, Orton, Shelton Benjamin, all these big and sweaty guys.
Oh, I haven't heard that name in a while. Shelton Benjamin.
Yeah, and he's still with them till this day.
Yeah.
Wow. But that's imagine if they never split them up though. Imagine they went with that tag team from the beginning. Imagine that definitely wouldn't have worked in the main roster.
We needed Team Angle. We needed Team Angle.
We needed that Team Angle, man.
Yeah.
Team Angle. That was dope, that Team Angle. But yeah, I'm telling you, man, this is a good topic. That's why I was like, yo, what if Brock
it's fun. It's fun to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Because, like I said, Edge. Does Hardy then that brings in the whole Matt Hardy gimmick? You know what I mean? There's so many things that he if he stood, maybe never happens because he was the guy. He was the guy. They were building up. They were putting all their chips in for him, and then he just got up and said, "I'm out." Peace. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of guys in history that they were there's been guys that they tried to make the guy and it doesn't work. There's never been one that they try, succeed, and homie says, all right, I'll catch y'all on the flip side. I'm out of here. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the one person that definitely 100% wouldn't have happened was Batista. That was the name. That's like, okay, if Brock never left, there's no Batista, literally.
I think Batista still does his thing with Evolution. He is like the bodyguard, but he never becomes
the great wrestler. I think he would have been more of a gimmick recognition than a wrestler because he have like a security guard type gimmick before Batista.
Yeah, he was with Devon.
Yeah, and then like I think he would have stuck with that. I think that would have been the thing they would have kept him going with. Like, oh, you're just a bodyguard. Just stand there, look big, and
you're
just,
the muscle.
Yeah,
you're the muscle.
Yeah,
I would have liked to see Brock and Batista go at it.
Yeah, that's like
one.
Goliath going at it, basically.
That's like the dream match for Brock. I mean, we almost had that when Batista returned in 2014. They did have a stare off, but it's like that run. Wow.
What
if Batista never returned? Would we seen the yes movement? See, I'm just thinking stuff.
It's such a butterfly or domino effect, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, it's like because of one move, stuff doesn't happen along the future.
Exactly.
So it's like there's so many things. He was part of that big storyline too. You can't just. He was part of that.
Yeah. Right. But there's a lot. There's a lot. Another one I was thinking about the other day was, if you notice, Triple H got injured. What was this? 01. He got injured like right as the invasion was happening. So he wasn't even playing a role in that. Is he the guy for WWE?
I don't know.
Because right now that was the big Rock and Austin storyline. And if you think about it, it carried out from WrestleMania 17 all throughout the summer because they were both the top guys of the Alliance and of Team WWF.
Because you
Triple H fit in there.
Because some people, there's some people that obviously Vince has in mind of who he's gonna push and who is he gonna bring up. I think it was all a matter of like when it happens, because you could just bring up somebody in a different storyline and it could work for them. I think if you put him into a different story, I'd say if like Triple H would have debuted, like had his own Triple H gimmick later on, maybe it still would have been the Triple H that he is today. Maybe DX still would have happened. Who knows? But I think it's all about like who they are and what they bring to the company over which storyline. Like I think besides, like, I don't think the storyline is like the whole focus of like, oh, how well can he bring to the company. So if he would have debuted later on, I think he would have still done well. Still would have been as big as he was. I just think it was the timing.
Because when he came back, that was the famous MSG return that my son, I don't care who says him, I don't care who wants to say no, he was on steroids. The jacket was just like, he had no neck. Him, man. He was standing in the ring like this. Like, you gotta tell me the dude wasn't taking steroids. But other than that, I still think, I don't know. I think maybe he is the top guy in WWE, like on the WWF side, and maybe Rock takes the back seat. Because remember, he was going on that they were doing the 2-man power trip with him and Austin as the heels, and then got right there. That's when he got injured, and then shortly after, that's when everybody started. That's when like the lines became together. ECW debuted. You know what I mean? There was so many things that happened after he got injured. That's like maybe the invasion storyline. Maybe it would have been buried the whole time knowing Triple H. You know what I mean? Maybe no one would have gotten the wins over WWF. It's just, especially that he likes to play his politic game.
Yeah.
It's just crazy, bro. Crazy how one person and one action changes history
forever. And then it's insane. There's so many.
Fucking insane.
We can go on for hours.
You could go on with so many stuff, and just every little thing you think about. You can even think about every little injury and be like, wow, if he never gets injured. Maybe
one of the biggest what ifs is, what if Edge never got injured? What if he never retired 10 years ago? That's like a whole conversation.
That's a whole episode.
Yeah, it's a whole it's a whole episode right there.
Yeah, Edge was
so fundamental to the WWE for so long.
Yeah, and you saw it in his retirement too.
Yeah.
You saw it, and it's like now his loss changed the company.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think, and I'm not trying to say it was his injury was caused downfall, but I kind of felt like during that year was like a little bit of a downfall in SmackDown, a little bit. It wasn't the same when he was there. So
No,
I think it was different.
Yeah.
I think obviously I don't know if Christian would have won the first ever world championship. Would he have turned heel?
Yo, they did Christian so dirty in WWE. Let me just say that.
I feel bad.
We talked about this last week. He's having a better run right now than Edge, but WWE did him so dirty. And then finally, when Edge retired, they were like, you know what? Here you go. We'll do something with you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was just like, it's too late. He was getting hurt all the time.
It was like Christian was a default. Like, all right, if Edge is out, I guess we'll just work with you because you were affiliated with him anyway. So
you're his best friend, might as well.
It's
like talking about placeholders. That's a prime example.
Yeah, Eddie and Ray. That's the same thing with Eddie and Ray.
Yeah, I think it was also like, oh, we need both of you, like to be equal, like have them get to the same potential as Edge. It started giving you real championship opportunities now, and let's have you win a few championships. And I think, like you said, his injuries got to him, kind of slowed him down a little bit. So I don't think his moveset was kind of the biggest thing. Because if you watched him, it was like he's wrestling really slowly, and it was like weird to watch. So I kind of get it. So But
even when they gave him the ECW championship, he was killing it. But
that was my favorite.
Nobody was paying attention because it was the ECW championship.
It was. I was kind of a fan of that. I was watching every single
belt so much. The silver one.
It was kind of cool. I like that one.
It was, now that you think back on it, it was cool. But when they transitioned from the old ECW title to that one, it was just big ass belt and just silver everywhere. I was just like, oh. But now, like you said, like I could go back and be like, oh, it's actually
not that bad.
It's good. Yeah, it's not that bad.
Yeah. But it was still cool.
It's crazy how one person could just change the whole game.
Yeah. So I guess we can wrap it up right there if no one else has anything else to say. But I know we do have a giveaway to announce.
Yes, we do.
Do you want to announce that for us?
Oh, sure. So we're doing our first ever giveaway. Celebrate 400 followers on Instagram. That's pretty cool. 400. Like, hopefully we'll be at 1,000 by the end of the year. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
But we're doing a giveaway. It's on Instagram. It's posted now. Basically, what you got to do is comment, tag 2 of your friends, repost it on your story, and you'll be entered. And we'll announce the winner next week on the podcast.
Nice. Definitely.
So that's about it.
So thank you for 400 followers. At this point on Friday, if we posted this episode's going out on Friday, so I already posted on Wednesday.
Right.
So go check that out. Follow the rules, and you'll be getting a free T-shirt from our merch shop. So that's actually the end of the episode for this week. The first of many with Gina. Thank you all for listening.
Yeah.
This was episode
welcome Gina.
Welcome. Exactly.
Thank you.
Comment welcome Gina in the comments so you can welcome her in here. That was episode number 50. I'm Nick, Gina, Joel, and we see you guys next week.
Got you.
Later.